In a first indication of a thaw in relations between India and China, automaker Bajaj Auto has overcome the global rare earth magnet supply challenge. Chetak deliveries resumed ahead of plan and the festive season. To talk more about this, we have with us Rajiv Bajaj, Managing Director of Bajaj Auto. Mr. Bajaj, thank you very much for joining us. So you have said that the deliveries of Chetak have begun. This is because of improved supplies and also because you've acquired rare earth magnets from different sources. What is the ability of the company right now to deliver these products and produce them?
Right. Hi, Parikshit. So, I had said sometime in July that given how the situation was then, we were looking at possibly a 0 month in August as far as both our electric Chetak and our electric three-wheeler, the Gogo, was concerned. But I'm now happy to say that the situation has changed very much for the better. And we are now, hopefully in August, looking at 15,000 plus of the Chetak, which would be, let's say, a little more than half our normal monthly production, and hopefully something in the neighborhood of 7,000 of the electric three-wheeler, the Gogo. So that's for the month of August. But again, I must say that's how things stand today, basis the availability of magnets as we see them at the moment. And hopefully the situation gets better from here onwards.
Right. The sense that one gets from sources that China, after the recent positive interactions between Indian and Chinese foreign ministers, the sense that one gets is that China started lifting restrictions on export of rare earth magnets to India, and consignments have started to flow too. What is your sense of the situation?
I'll tell you what our experience is of it, Parikshit. One, as far as the heavy rare earth, HRE as it is called, is concerned, as of now, we don't see any movement on that front. And as of day before, when we inquired about this upon hearing what we did in Indian media, inquired at the other end, the news from China was that, over there, nothing has changed as far as HRE is concerned. So maybe it's work in process. But as of now, we have heard nothing on HRE. As far as LRE is concerned, we started receiving clearance for our shipments from approximately 3 weeks ago, 3 or maybe 4 weeks back. Very slowly in the beginning, with a lot of testing, a lot of documentation, a lot of delays at laboratories and ports. But this started about 3 to 4 weeks back. So in that sense, I would just make the point that, it didn't coincide with any visits from India to China or the recent visit from China to India. It's not an automatic outcome of that. This had started before. But what we are seeing now with respect to LRE or light rare earth is that the slow process of movement is accelerating. So that may seem to suggest that basis these talks, there has been some positive impact.
Right. That's an important point. Let me also ask you about the government's plan to reduce GST on two-wheelers, four-wheelers, and the automobile industry in general. So the 28% slab will become 18% for two-wheelers under 350cc. How do you see this move? Is this a positive going forward for Bajaj Auto, for the two-wheeler industry?
So this is a very important subject, and therefore I would like to make a couple of what I believe are very important points, Parikshit. First of all, some of us, including myself, we've been talking about this for years now. Whenever we meet people in Delhi, ministers, bureaucrats, etc., as is well known, especially after the impact of COVID, the two-wheeler industry has not really recovered and come back even to pre-COVID levels, despite all the effort that everyone has made in all respects. I'm not an expert on cars, but I believe that the same is true, especially for the lower half of the pyramid as far as cars is concerned. So as you know, a brilliant fellow called Sahaj Sankran said to me, very simply, he said, Mehengai is greater than Kamai. So that's been the problem last 5 years, that the common man has been hit very hard by all the inflation around him. while the job market, wage situation, etc., has been very difficult. So I think this context is very important and needs to be kept in mind. Now, coming more specifically to your question, I would like to make two very sharp points actually. First, on the 18% GST, I would like to reiterate this, that for two-wheelers, that when you compare with all the other major two-wheeler markets of the world, whether it's Brazil, whether it's Thailand, whether it's Indonesia, whether it's Malaysia, Vietnam, etc., please bear in mind that the corresponding rates there are between 8 and 14%. So, on behalf of Indian consumers, I would still say to the authorities that, you are not doing them a favor by bringing in 18% in place of 28%. It is still high compared to, let's say, a median of 12% by as much as 50%. It's very welcome. It's fabulous. It's fantastic. It'll be great. But it is still on the higher side. And the reason I make this point of it being on the higher side is not to say that I'm not appreciative of it. I'm deeply appreciative. But the point I wish to make is with regard to what you mentioned thereafter about the CC. You see, over 97 or 98% for everything sold in this country is under 350cc. And I personally am of the view that when such policy changes are implemented, we always bemoan the fact that our policies are very complex, outdated, too much legacy, not contemporary, etc. My plea would be that now that we are changing something, please keep it simple. Why not just 18% for everything by excluding products that are above 350cc? We are excluding perhaps by volume the last 1% or 2%. I don't know the exact number. And what are we really achieving by doing that? However, there are two very real downsides to doing this because it creates two very big distortions. One is it creates a distortion in the product portfolio of companies. Wherever you draw the line, I have heard about 200cc, 250cc, 350cc, etc. Wherever you draw the line, you are in a way forcing manufacturers to realign their product portfolio, which means to do a lot of work in the area of engine and transmission and indeed the overall vehicle to comply with this norm or this line that you artificially draw. And this work has no value. It is not doing any good to the customer or to the environment or to the employment or to the company. It is only towards the purpose of fulfilling some new arbitrary policy. And the second is it creates a distortion in global alignment. See, we have been saying that in so many industries, India is too far low down the value chain. Even China has moved up so much, not to mention some other ASEAN countries. But it all starts with our own attitude as business people or as policymakers. We are dumbing down the customer. We are saying the Indian customer should only buy a 100cc bike or a 150cc bike by making such policies. Why? If he wants to 100cc bike, let him do so affordably, happily. And in turn, you will strengthen not just the customer, but you will strengthen the companies. You will strengthen Make in India, because when you make it more viable for us to make even a 400, 500cc motorcycle, you make it more viable for the Indian supply chain to develop components for that. You make us more competitive, therefore, vis-a-vis the rest of the world.
Mr. Bajaj, now when it comes to the interim, there is also worry in the industry that because there is a GST cut in the pipeline, the GOM has also decided that there should be two slabs, a 5% slab and 18% slab, and then you have a sin rate of 40%, which will have a few goods. So essentially, we have two slabs in the country. And this is now, which has to be approved by the GST Council. In the interim, do you expect a slowdown in sales? Are you seeing that impact in the festive season?
100%. There will be a slowdown, but that needs to be qualified by the time period. For example, the slowdown which has already started, and let's say, for example, arbitrarily that the new policy comes into effect from 1st October. Definitely industry will see a slowdown between now and end of September. But there is no way around this, frankly, and it's a small price to pay for a very big gain, because in October, that will all come back. See, the consumer is not going anywhere. So the slowdown is only a deferment. it is not like he or she has shelved their plans to purchase a new product. So I would say if one takes a little broader time horizon of something like September to October or November, then in that sense there will be no slowdown. There will be overall a very, very salutary effect. And the only thing one can say is that the sooner implemented, the better.
All right, that's an important point. Could you also finally give us a sense of your export pickup, the kind of uptick that you see across segments?
Sure. So let me say this, that last year, the second quarter of last financial year, Parikshit, was our best quarter ever in our history, and we are hoping to exceed that in this quarter, despite some headwinds we have with our domestic motorcycle portfolio. More for our doing, we are late with our product plans, and with Chetak because of the shortage of the magnets, which really was outside our control. But the positives are four. The KTM is doing really well with the new products. Triumph is doing really well on the back of the new products. The three-wheeler, both the ICE and the EV, where we became market leader in the previous quarter, doing really well. And the exports that you referred to, we are looking at about over 20% growth, coming ever so close to the number of 200,000 a month, which was our normal pre-COVID. And this despite the fact that our biggest market, Nigeria, is still down by more than half. What's really heartening with exports is to see the growth in really rewarding markets, not only in some parts of Africa, but especially in LATAM and ASEAN. Markets like Philippines, market like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, markets like Mexico, Colombia, looking really good, which means sales of the Pulsar motorcycle, the Dominar, the three-wheelers will be very strong, which is obviously very good for our top and bottom line.
All right. And one final question, if I were to ask you before we let you go, sir, and this would be, what is the kind of EV offtake? You told us that you're looking at about 15,000 scooters in August, 7,000 electric three-wheelers. Going forward, what will be the run rate like?
Oh, again, I must qualify by saying this, that, every day is a new day as far as magnets are concerned. It's time to stabilize. But if the supplies come in as I believe they will at the moment, then we are quite candidly speaking going to push very hard to achieve new highs in both these brands, because as you know, we acquired leadership in both these brands in recent months. So for the Chetak specifically, we would push closer to 40,000 units in September. For the three-wheeler, we would look to exceed 10,000, the electric three-wheeler, 10,000 units. And perhaps you are aware, Parikshit, that already we are the largest EV company in India, auto EV company in India by volume, by revenue, not just in two-wheelers, but two-wheelers, three-wheelers, four-wheelers. And I hope that, with a better normalized supply situation, we should be able to take that to the next level next month.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Bajaj, for joining us on the program, giving us your view on the rare earth magnet crisis, the early signs of that easing up, your reaction on GST as well.